Our next guest is the 2017 Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy winner, Craig Anderson of the Ottawa Senators. Craig, you hear me all right?
I got you loud and clear.
All right, we'll start with that. I just thought it was really powerful reading your wife Nicole's latest blog post where she talked about just comparing living with cancer to living through this pandemic from a mental health and anxiety standpoint. I'm wondering, just for yourself, Craig, what kind of perspective the last 6 weeks have given you, given all that your family has been through here the last few years?
Well, I think it's been tough for everybody, and we're not immune to that. We as athletes, we're still human. We still kind of go through the same emotions that everyone else goes through. So we're learning. We're going through, learning how to parent our kids on a 24/7 basis with no school, and how to homeschool them, and trying to find activities for everyone to do that's safe and secure from everybody. And again, it's one of those things of, we're all kind of, in limbo here, unsure of what kind of future, we're looking at. But again, hopefully this is just kind of like a little bubble that we're in for now, and everything will kind of pass as time goes on.
And with that, she put out a video recently of your oldest Jake giving you a quarantine haircut. How'd the kid do with a pair of clippers in his hand?
Not bad. He took probably about 2 or 3 times the amount of time that it normally takes. But again, it was his first time learning how to use those things. So, by the end of it, he was trying to get the hang of it. So hopefully next time when he decides to do it, it will take about half as much time.
And I know with all this downtime, you spent some of it, full-time dad, of course, but also doing some iRacing. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, I'm curious, your love for auto racing and cars in general, when did that all start for you, Craig?
It's probably been since I've been a kid. My dad, raced back in the 80s, and then, got out of it, and we got back into it into the early 2000s. So my brother and I, we've been going to the track since mid 2000, maybe 2005-ish. Kind of a good family getaway, catch-up time for me and my brother to get together, because as you get older, you get families, you kind of try to find things that kind of bring you together. So he and I definitely use that time to hang out and come back together. But motorsports is kind of in the blood from day one, with whether it's sports cars on the street or actually going to the track and being around the smell of race fuel and the burnt tires on the track and whatnot.
And people have been able to follow along some of your racing on your Twitch account. I know you've been doing that well before this pandemic hit and everything came to a pause, but how many hours have you logged in the virtual cockpit here the last few weeks?
Not too much. We have it all set up over at the office warehouse that I have. So it's about 5-6 minutes away from the house here. So getting time away from the family to go over there has been difficult, because the kids are they're busy 24/7. We got to keep them entertained, and they always kind of want to be around their dad, who hasn't been around much. So it's trying to do as much time as I can. But I probably figure I logged a lot more hours in Ottawa there by myself, heading down to the basement and jumping on the sim during the season, and I'd probably log quite a few hours a week. So this is kind of like a break from it, but we're still trying to get over there on a consistent basis to get involved in kind of the hype that's kind of going on with NASCAR, IndyCar, and everyone else is kind of jumping on board of the sim racing.
Could you ever foresee a scenario after your playing days, when as a goaltender are finished, that you get behind a wheel and race competitively, or what are the odds about that?
I'd like to think that I'm a fairly decent driver. Again, there's a difference between the amateur and the pro, just like for hockey. So there's different levels of motorsport that you can be involved in. There's club racing, where it's like beer league hockey. You just kind of show up and bring what you have and go have fun. And then there's a semi-professional type level, where you are racing against guys who are getting paid, and that takes a lot more commitment and time and effort and money. So I don't know if I'll ever get there. The competitive side of me says yes, absolutely, let's go try it. But the rational side says, hey, stay at home with your family and just kind of do it as a hobby and enjoy it.
All right. The one thing I learned pretty quickly covering you here in Ottawa, that if I were to ever bring up one of your statistics in a scrum or in a question, I better make sure I have it right, because you will call me on it right away if it is in any way incorrect. So I have a couple of questions just about some numbers over your careers to see if I can test your knowledge about your own life in between the pipes. Is that all right?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so the first one I'll start with, your first career goal against in a regular season game in the NHL. Do you know who scored it?
Yes.
Who?
Paul Correa.
Yes, in Anaheim, correct. Your first ever win in the NHL was also a shutout. How many saves did you make that night?
Don't know the saves, but the score was 7-0 in Columbus.
Correct, yes. 30 saves on that occasion. Last one I have for you. Do you know what your career high of saves in one game is, regular season or playoffs?
53?
Yes, with Florida against New York back in 2008. Very good. So, no surprise you passed that with flying colors. And I know you were asked a lot just in speaking on a conference call with local media about the uncertainty with your future and if you're contemplating retirement at all. And I know for yourself, you're someone who very much just lives in the moment for the time being. But I'm wondering, in looking back over the 9 years in Ottawa, Craig, and you've talked this year about just your connection to the community as well as your play on the ice. Is there anything that stands out that perhaps you're most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the relationships that have kind of evolved in Ottawa just from whether it's, the Murray family or it's, local restaurants to the different teammates that we've had, our fan base. That stuff all is kind of dear to my heart because, we're all kind of human and we all kind of looking for that interaction. And I think that the more emotional bonds that we can have with our community and our friends and family that we make, I think that's, kind of something that I kind of enjoyed and kind of hold dear to my heart.
Final one for you, Craig. As someone who grew up just outside of Chicago during the Jordan era, have you been as fascinated with the MJ docuseries as the rest of the sporting world seemingly has been here so far?
I'd have to admit I have not followed the MJ series at all. I know it was on the other night, and I think I wanted to throw it on and just wasn't able to get to it. So it's on the book to get in and watch and follow it because MJ was, the sports idol growing up. I mean, I remember going over to the neighbor's house there down the street at his basketball hoop, and one of us was Jordan, the other one was Pippen. So we were kind of just like anyone today who pretends they're Craig Anderson in the net or Sidney Crosby shooting goals. We did that playing hoops in the local neighborhood of pretending to be the guy who put the rim down at 6 foot and dunked on it and made us feel like we were superstars. So again, it's something that I definitely want to check out and enjoy the memories of Jordan when he was playing in the 90s.
Fantastic. Craig, you've always been good with your time, and today no different. Thank you very much for doing this, and all the best to you and your family.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.